From the Standing Stone Farm Studio right outside downtown Nashville, it's time for the most ridiculous sports podcast in the world. So sit back, relax, and listen as Bobby Butler and Brandon Bond crack open a cold one and talk all things hockey, pop culture, and complain about everyday situations. It's the Pucks Out Podcast on the Penalty Box Radio Network.
Welcome into the most ridiculous podcast in sports and pop culture. I'm Bobby. He's Brandon.
Hey-o.
You can find us on the three majors of social media at Pucks Out Pod. Now let's crack open a cold beer and let's get after it. It's been a long week already, dude. I'm playing I've got some pretty bad allergies. It's I guess this is my flu game. But you know, we'll make it through. Champions adjust. Today we've got big news in the NHL, Stanley Cup review, talking our Baltimore trip, and lots more. How you doing this week, bud?
I'm doing all right. Pushing through. Going to Chattanooga next week, so we'll be off again next week for work. So not podcast work, real work. But yeah, I'm doing all right. How about you, man?
Pretty good, man. You know, fighting through. I had my allergies are bad, mixed with I guess like I had a 24-hour bug or something. Just wasn't feeling good. My body was just recovering from Baltimore, I guess.
Yes,
but yeah, don't forget to check us out on What a Maneuver and Patreon to support the show. And on August 14th, we will be live over at Mayday Brewery, and we will be joined by Justin Bradford. That'll be a good time. Show will start about 1:30, so come on out, enjoy some dope beer. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm super excited about Mayday. I'm a big Mayday fan, so since they're creation, so I'm excited to get over there and do a show over there with Justin Bradford. That'll be fun.
They usually always have some really good food trucks. I think they're dog friendly outside, so come on it down. Hopefully the weather's nice, but let's jump straight into the news.
Everything you need to know about what's happening on the ice. It's time for news from inside the boards.
Pekka Rinne has called it a career. The 2018 Vezina winner and the 2021 King Clancy winner has announced his retirement. He leaves with 369 wins and 60 shutouts. Easily the greatest Nashville Predator to ever play. Yeah. As far as finishing his career there, I'd say Shea Weber has a big argument for being the best Predator to ever play. But I hear what you're saying for sure. He was there all 15 seasons. He will definitely be the first jersey retired there, no question. Yeah, and that shouldn't. I really hope they don't take long to do that. That should be in a immediate start of next season. They put his jersey up somewhere, whether it's a Ring of Honor or a banner or something, and then maybe in a couple of years he gets a statue outside somewhere. Yeah, that'd be sick to get a sweet statue out there. Yeah, I'm sad to see him go, man. It was a long, storied career. He was a great addition to Nashville as a whole. So not just on the ice, but off the ice as well. He did a lot for the community, right? With all this charity work. He got a lot of people. He helped make this city into a hockey city. But moving on from that, I'm sure we'll be talking about that a bunch at Justin Bradford. I'm sure we'll be talking about it a bunch over the summer. Duncan Keith traded to Edmonton. I believe they got someone not really great, and they no salary retained. Not a great trade in my opinion. He is, what is he now, 41 years old, something like that? He is old for sure. We talked about that being a potential landing spot, but what does it really add to the Oilers? I don't think it adds a lot. If they didn't overpay for him, he could be a great leadership addition, and maybe that's what they were missing a little bit. I feel like that's not what they're missing. It's just weird that I think it is that they look at their locker, they look at their team, and they say, you know what would really get us a championship? Duncan Keith. Well, but they don't. Well, I don't think. I think that they don't have any veteran presence there, though. They're a young team that has a lot of youth that doesn't have a guy that's won 3 Stanley Cups on the team. So I think it could be a great addition. He may not. I think my biggest issue is less him, but the fact that there's no salary retention. He's got a pretty big salary too. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know that was everyone's big kicker, is that everyone thought that when he left, that Chicago would have to keep some of his salary. That was going to be the only way they could move him. He's only making $2.1 million, so that's not
That's not crazy.
How many years does he have left on that?
2.
Yeah. It's not
So
it's not horrible, but it's not great. I think $2 million is still overpaying for him.
Yeah, overpaying a little bit, but again, they have the talent there. It's not been the talent they haven't been able to overcome. They've got a great hockey team. They just don't have that guy that can will them to win. Now, will he be healthy? That's more the question, but he can provide a lot to a locker room. I think it's a little high, but that's his base salary though. So I guess if they're paying, the cap hit's 5.5. So that is that is way higher. But I would imagine that those are, there's bonuses involved and things like that. So I mean, it'll just depend. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think that it's. I agree with you. I don't think it's what they were missing, but I don't think it was necessarily a bad ad.
Yeah. I mean, a cap hit of 5.5. That's when you. At first, I thought you at 2 million. I was like, all right, it's not as bad as I thought. A cap hit of $5 million. That's
that's just his base salary.
Yeah.
So
all right, yeah. Zach Parise and Ryan Suter each will have their final 4 seasons of their contract bought out by the Minnesota Wild. So I guess they're moving on. I wonder where. I mean, those are decent players. So I mean, where do you think they could wind up?
Come on back to Nashville, Suter. We'd love to have you. No, I don't know. I think it's really kind of just dependent on what kind of salary they're looking for. Really, are they? I mean, because I know Suter left here to go to Minnesota because his wife's from there. I think he's from around there, and so maybe he's just willing to take that hometown discount and stick around.
Do you think this has to do with the expansion draft coming up, them buying them out?
Possibly. Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great point, that you don't want one of those guys stolen, and you can then just re-sign them if that's really where they want to be, I mean, that's a point I didn't really even think about. So, I mean, yeah, I think that's a totally plausible option there. I don't know. I mean, I can't even really think of places that they would fit well, just like in my mind. I'm trying to peruse. I think Suter may work well in Toronto. I think that could be a good move for Toronto. Obviously, those teams that always take these guys and have them on the bottom 6, teams like Boston. I think that Parise could be a great add to the Rangers. Give them a little veteran leadership. I mean, he had some ridiculous contract, right? Like, it was like he'd been there for forever.
Yeah. So by buying that out, that gives the Wild another $10.3 million in cap space to play with this summer. And you got to think that Kaprizov and Fiala is on the top of their list of UFAs that have to be re-signed. I mean, those guys are definitely going to get, a big, increase in paydays.
How long is Zuccarello's contract?
Looks like he's got 1 year left, and he signed a 5-year, $30 million contract with the Wild. That's $6 million a year. Looks like he's got 1 year left on it.
We said it signed a 5-year?
He signed a 5-year. Let me look.
He hasn't been with the Wild for 5 years.
Okay, then that might have been an old article.
Yeah.
Oh, that might have been the contract he had with the Rangers, and then his contract came over.
Took it. Okay.
Yeah, he looks like he signed through 23-24. Yeah, he signed a 5-year. Oh, he's been so he's been with them for 3 years. So he's got about a year and a half left, it looks like, on his contract. All right, moving on. If I get this name right, Dominique Ducharme has had the interim tag move, and he is now the Habs head coach after taking them to the Stanley Cup final. I mean, that was a good run by the Habs, and I think that that's a bright young team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're the first team in Canada to get a cup in the next couple of years.
I would be surprised because they are still in Canada. So,
well, I'll say the first Canadian team to get a cup.
Well, right, but one of them has to win it in order for them to get a cup. So, they're still from Canada, so I don't see it.
It might be 50 years from now, but who knows? Or they might just separate and say, we're going to do our own Canadian league, guys.
Yeah, they might have to. It might have to be the.
But still, something's going to happen. No Canadian team's going to win it.
Yeah, it's going to be the dark horse. They're just going to tie, and they're never gonna be able to actually win. It's much deserved. I mean, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but
there was just no beating that Lightning team. I mean, the 5 games was absolutely a stretch, you know. Me and Paul called that on the tailgate show, though. You know, we called Tampa in 5. I mean, that was a gutsy win by the Canadians when they got it. So, you know, that guy that had the prediction of the 2 Josh Anderson goals and the Canadians win, and then they win in 7. He was 2 for 3. So, I mean, it was just a great season by them. They much exceeded the expectations of them. I don't think that there was any series that they were in that we didn't say, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if they won, but probably not. You know, it's probably, this is it. Okay.
You got to wonder if the guy now who, I remember he got it about 5 years ago. I think it was like 2016 or something. And a guy got a big tattoo on his thigh, a Habs tattoo that said Stanley Cup Champions 202 with a spot after the 2 left open. He's like, they're getting it. And now he's probably like, man. He was talking about this is the year, and I was like, "Ooh,
okay, yeah, that was." I mean, you don't get many of those opportunities. So when you squander it, he has to be thinking.
He's like, I probably should have just gotten the first 2, and then maybe in the next 1,000 years,
right? And I'll probably be dead before it ever happens. And I wasn't technically wrong, you know. The way they do tattoo touch up these days, he'll be fine.
To be honest, it might have been the year 2 when the Habs won their last cup. So
that could be it. That's yeah. They won in year 20. So
all right, let's move on to outside the NHL.
Now that you know what's happening inside the boards, time for the rest of the headlines with news from outside the boards.
Australia hands USA men's basketball second straight loss after an embarrassing loss to Nigeria.
Did we cause this when we did our Foster's Conk?
Yeah.
I think that we put it out into the world that, you know, Pucks Out is pro Australia, and I think they really took to it. Keith told all of the guys, and that's embarrassing. I mean, you know, it's obviously embarrassing, and this team should win. I mean, Patty Mills is playing on the team. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not the... Yeah. Hold on, I'm sorry. I may have misspoke. Patty Mills might be on Australia. So I'm going to need to research that before I become an idiot. So... Yeah, he's Australian. I'm so sorry. Patty Mills is on the team. Yeah, Australia's team.
So if you look at our listening stats from the entire continent of Africa, our only listen from that continent is from Nigeria. So,
oh my goodness, this is the Pucks Out curse. Who do we play next?
Now we know who to bet on.
That's true. If we got, we'll see what our listens are.
If they play Dominican Republic, I know who I'm betting on.
We're up for sure. We got this for sure.
Do you think, listen, in the entire history of exhibition matches, Team USA is 52-2, and they have now gone 0-2. Are they taking the gold this year in Tokyo?
Yes, no question. The NBA season just ended. A lot of these guys are, fresh off the game, so not that a lot of the other teams are not, but I may be absolutely wrong. But
it's hard to bet against the Team USA, but at the same time, it's like if there was a year for it not to happen, this is when they had to when Popovich had to fly to New York and beg Kevin Durant to join the team. Like that says something.
I just can't believe they let Kevin Love on the team. If we're being honest, that's your big problem right there. Like he didn't care about it when he was getting paid millions. Why would he care about it for the gold? I just think that, the exhibition win for Nigeria and the exhibition win for Australia is awesome for them. If we're sitting here talking honestly, it doesn't even make the show doc if we beat both of them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. But at the same time, like, listen, if this was just a one-off loss, that's one thing. But Team USA made it very clear they were embarrassed by Nigeria. They came out, I believe it was Bradley Beal said that it was the most embarrassing loss in the history of the game of basketball when they lost to Nigeria.
Feel like
Popovich brought in some player who lost in the 70s to the Soviets to talk to Team USA about coming back from a loss. They clearly felt that loss and wanted to make a statement that, you know what, you don't mess with Team USA. then they go out there and get beat by Australia.
But they got Kevin Durant, and he was tweeting from both sides of it. He was also tweeting pro-Nigerian tweets on his burner.
And his burner is Kevin Durant, but he didn't realize that an Australian accent you can't type an Australian accent.
Devin Durant.
Yeah. He's just got a mustache.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I would not. I mean, it's not like it wouldn't be a crazy thing that if we went out and lost. Like, I don't know if there's a bunch of big NBA players that play on Nigeria, but there's a few players that on Australia that are NBA players. You know, I mean, it's not like
here are 4 players at Team USA, or I guess Popovich or someone in that went to, and they said no. And I think these are playmakers that could guarantee. Trae Young, Ja Morant, LaMelo Ball, Tyrese Halliburton. These are all players that
it's amazing to me. Like that would seem like going and playing for the Olympics and winning a gold would be
a big thing.
High on your list of things that you would want to do as a basketball player, but maybe not. I mean, you know, obviously Trae Young was just playing basketball like a couple weeks ago, so he may need a break. And honestly, I don't know if they have a back brace big enough for Trae Young with the way he was carrying that team. So, no, I would say it's very embarrassing.
Someone says it doesn't really matter, who the USA field, who doesn't have, because they just lost games to it, whose best player were Gabe Vincent and Joe Ingles.
Joey Ingles is a good basketball player, though. And so
now I don't know who else is on the Grecian team, but I mean, you got to think Giannis is going to go off if in the Olympics.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, he'll be the best basketball player on the floor, bar none. So
I still think, and I know I said it when we were in Baltimore, Team USA versus the world. I want that, and because you know what, if you do that, then maybe Steph Curry, LeBron, they'll step up and say, you know what, we're playing, and then I mean. That'll be good.
I think
basketball.
That's what it already is, though, except for on our side. We're not playing the world on our side, but the world is every team in the world, every other national team is when it comes to basketball wants to beat Team USA.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the thing, because I mean, it's where everybody comes in. When it comes to soccer, you know,
we're like the Soviets were with hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that mean we're the baddies?
Yes, we have been the baddies for a long time.
If like Greece knocks us out for like the silver medal, and are someone gonna say, "Do you believe in miracles?" But in Grecian,
well, and see, what the difference is you know, all the great American and Canadian hockey players didn't go play hockey in Soviet Union. You know, maybe they legally couldn't. I don't know the but like every great player in the world comes and plays basketball in the NBA.
I think it's only starting to happen in the last, I would say, 5 years that we're starting to get so much talent from other countries that they're starting to go play for their own countries. Like 10 years ago, I think Giannis would be playing for Team USA. Like a guy who,
I don't know. No, I mean, you know, when Spain gave us that loss, the Gasols were playing for Spain. I mean, you know, Tony Parker always played for France, and it was always crazy to me that he was French. Like, I'm like,
Tony Parker.
Tony, what are you doing
think that
here?
even in France, they say his name. Oh, wow, Tony Parker.
Yeah, old Tone.
Just they go to like a weird New York Italian accent.
Manu Ginobili always played for Argentina. I mean, this is, you know, because I think it became that, you know, who wants to go and play for the team? Because it probably always
a lot of
win.
these guys, it probably wasn't like, I'm going to take my team to beat Team USA. It's probably I want to be the superstar of my team and show that, you know what, and because, you know, if you're on a team with all these superstars, you know, you're gonna maybe have a 25-point game. Giannis going out there have a 80-point game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I have personally, I wasn't a huge fan of the Team USA roster this year. And I know it's because a lot of players aren't playing.
I honestly, I actually prefer that it's like this because it's no fun when Team USA just goes out there and.
No, it's super fun, dude. It's super
I mean,
fun.
It's fun as far as a gold medal count, but I'm not going to watch those games.
No. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not going to watch them, but like, if it was the Dream Team, they were beating teams like 100-20, I would watch
because
it.
Dream Team was new. It's been going on for almost 30 years now.
No, but it hasn't. We've never had a team like that team. I mean, we had a couple, maybe 2008. I'm talking about
the absolute
really great.
Like the seesaw all to one side for Team USA.
It's been like that for a while. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I mean, they have a really good team.
They have the best team. They have the best team in the Olympics by far, which says a lot about basketball in this country.
They don't have the big men that are necessary for a world stage. I mean, Bam Adebayo is great, but Kevin Love has not done anything in the NBA since LeBron carried him to a championship. Oh, and Kyrie. Sorry, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. The earth is flat, though. I couldn't see you behind LeBron, so I'm sorry, Kai. I'm sorry. No, I mean, it's a really, really good team. Don't get me wrong. Just not an exciting team.
No, I mean, it's definitely not. Italy wins 2021 Euros over England. Hide your wives?
Yeah. Did you not know that when England plays, that no matter what, if they play, their domestic abuse goes up?
Oh,
but if they lose, it goes
I thought you were about to say something like, adultery, like more adultery happens because, or something like that.
No. Well, I mean, now the Italians are suave.
That's what I was thinking.
Hide your wives for sure. In that regard, I was like, did you know that?
Because all these Italian players are out of the house. All these Italian women are out with their, I don't know, car mechanics.
No,
whatever.
Watch your wife because the Italians are out and about and they're feeling swaggy. Okay, I mean, Jersey Shore is finna be lit. Okay, no, but the domestic abuse skyrockets even when they play, but when they lose, that's insane. It is. I know it's absolutely insane.
Sometimes I feel like a lot of people treat England like this. Oh, like that they're they're way more civilized than us. Then you see England when they play soccer, and it's
or you see their breakfast plate. You're like, oh, okay.
They start sometimes people just straight up forget, because since we have our own issues to deal with in America, how racist of a country they can also be when they lose a game in international sports. It's ugh.
They're just deeply ingrained in the racism. It's just a part of who they are. Whereas we're very young, so we haven't got to ingrain it yet.
Yeah. Oh, it's ingrained, but not as ingrained as them. Sha'Carri Richardson denied spot on U.S. team. We talked a little bit about this in Baltimore as well. I'm not a fan, mainly because of the.
Me either.
A lot of people saying, "Oh, well, she broke the rules." It's yeah, she admitted to it. The rules are dumb, but I dislike the USA track and field team trying to pass the buck.
Yeah, they were hoping the Olympics would ban her, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we got your back." But those darn Olympics, we never
Olympics said, it's not on us anymore. And instead,
if you want her, you can have. And then they're like, "Oh,
yikes!"
We want Cheech hanging out with us at the, she's gonna be super stoned the whole time. We're not gonna understand what she's saying. My thing is, do hard drugs like an adult that get out of your system. No, it's very disappointing. And super disappointing of the US. I mean, we're coming up on, I think something like 36 states have some sort of legality for, maybe that's high. Maybe I'm just bringing that number out of but it's a high number that has medicinal or recreational.
Yeah.
It's getting ridiculous. My thing is, if I'm a runner and I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, you should smoke this joint. It's never oh, this guy cheated. He smoked a joint right before the race. That in no way enhances your, that'd be banning, dude, no pizza. If you're in the Olympics, no pizza, which is a gateway to weed.
Yeah.
So it is just crazy that it is 2021 and we're still not letting athletes play because of weed. Bro, you want to smoke weed in my mind, because she could have right before that test gone out and drank a fifth of vodka. We're not even having a conversation about it, unless she does something awesome on camera.
Which I would say alcohol will definitely help a sprinter a lot more than weed. As someone who's worked at a bar where people get drunk, yeah, they might not run in a straight line, but they're running.
But that's very important in track and field. If you go across your plane, boom, DQ'd. So, maybe if it was
everybody was drunk, that'd be sick. Just like drunk racing.
They should do that, but with NASCAR.
Maybe. Maybe.
I want to see it. Halfway through, they just like tell the top 5 people, all right, they got to turn around and go the other way now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just like a whole, you make up the rules as you go. But that's just crazy to me. I can't believe that she was denied the spot by the team.
All right. The Tampa Bay Lightning are your back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. They have already dented the cup on their celebrations,
Nice.
which I think people are forgetting that it's not the worst thing that ever happened to the cup on celebration. I believe the Canadians once left it on the side of a snowy highway because they used it to like someone's like they give it to a guy for 24 hours. Well, his tire popped and he didn't have a jack, so he used the Stanley Cup as a jack to get his car up and change the tire. And then he left it on the side of the road.
That's honestly an awesome story. My thing is like, do you think that they don't have guys that can fix it? Like this is just what we've heard about. Like,
oh, there was one where they wanted to light it on fire to have like a big, oh, look at it on fire, metal doesn't burn. And then they realized that there's like stuff around it and they didn't have fire extinguishers. So they all pissed on it to put the fire out.
There is absolutely no way that all of that is original. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, they probably don't even like actually release the real Stanley Cup. Like, they just give them this replica and they're like, yeah, it's the Stanley Cup.
Imagine being the dude who's like the watcher, the keeper of the cup, just like, oh no, I have to give it to a drunk Kucherov.
That dude has got to have so many stories, dude.
Yeah.
He's just like, here you go. I protect this, Mr. Ovechkin. He's like not letting it go.
Well, I believe was it the Caps or the team? Or I think it was Pittsburgh's last year. There was a video. Someone got really drunk and puked in the cup, and then they clearly cleaned the cup. But like the next person who had it ate like Captain Crunch out of it, and it's like, oh, like I'm sorry, bro. Like because he's like,
it's the Stanley Cup, dude. Like
there's been so much stuff in there.
It isn't right. Right. Puke and Captain Crunch are probably the least two gross mixtures of things that have
They're
been
probably
like
the most
one
similar
after
of
the other.
things.
Right. That is, I mean, maybe the guy was eating Captain Crunch and then puked Captain Crunch in it and they didn't even have to clean it. They just let the next guy eat the Captain Crunch out of it.
Just fermented a little bit.
What would you do if you had the cup for a day, man?
Ooh. I don't know, man. I think it's hard. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I think I would just take it around town and just start throwing it at people.
I'll use it as a weapon.
Okay. Throwing at people, just trust throwing at people.
I mean, the thing is, like, even when your background check gets ran, they're like, I see here that you have an assault on your charge. You're like, yeah, but read the details. Oh, you assaulted somebody with the Stanley Cup.
I'm like, see, Your Honor. They're like, you're free to go.
That's honestly... No, sir. I'm going to need the conviction because of all of the, background checks that I'm going to have run on me later. I want them to also know about it. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. And I really asked the question without thinking about what I would want to do.
It's a little hard of a question. Trying to think of anything original. It's like, I don't know.
I would get it filled with Bailey's crab cakes.
That's a dope.
And, I would get a divider and then half Natty Boh, half Bailey's crab cakes.
It's a good one.
That's it. That's all I'm doing with it.
I would take it to the Cult compound in Baltimore, the Guinness factory.
Oh,
just straight Guinness out of
it. That's a great question. And
is that drunkenness?
Right.
Is that allowed?
It's like one of those things where the general managers are all sitting around together and they're like, it's the Stanley Cup. They're like, no, he's promoting drunkenness. It's like, no.
Guys, but we're a brewery. I know.
We got to stop it. Shut it down. Shut it down. Is that Wayne Gretzky? Get out of here, Gretzky. We kicked you out of here last year, buddy.
But all right, we haven't talked much about
that. Will make immensely more sense in a minute.
Yeah,
so
we haven't talked much about the actual Stanley Cup Finals. But what did you think of the finals? What grade would you give the finals? Just the finals, not the whole playoffs.
I would give the Habs an A for effort. I would give the finals itself a for sort of boring. I mean, just kind of more what was boring, expected.
Wouldn't you, so are you consider? I'm very confused on the A for boring.
It was boring, so they got the top grade for boring.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
I didn't know if he's like, hey, I love boring games.
Yeah. No. It's more of just like, and it wasn't boring.
Most people
it
would say like, I'll give it a D for
expected.
excitement, like not very exciting.
No, I went the opposite route there. I was just trying to grade it highly. No, I mean it wasn't. That's the wrong word. It wasn't boring. It was just what you expected.
Yeah, I would say it's boring. To me, I would say it was boring, especially after the great semifinals that we had.
Yeah.
Following that, those semifinals,
Yeah.
that Habs comeback was so amazing, and that to me was the best round of the finals. I would give the finals, I mean, C plus maybe.
Yeah.
Like I was when I said Habs in 6, I think I was kind of going with my heart. Obviously, Tampa was.
I'd love to see the Habs win at 6, but bro, it wasn't happening.
Yeah, I knew it wasn't happening, but I want to like. It's not like I was betting with money, so it's like I used the
pucks out. I used the pucks out. Curse and willed the Tampa in 5 to existence. I mean, it was just a foregone conclusion. They were the better team.
Yeah,
they had star power. They had everything that every other team that the Habs beat. They didn't have that team they beat didn't have. Tampa had it. They had there were teams that had star power like Toronto, but didn't have that playoff experience, that playoff will to win.
Yeah. Or just the actual brick
Tampa
wall that is
it.
Vasi.
Yeah, exactly. A goaltender that is, one of the best in the league right now, and probably one of the best ever.
I would say
that
he
seen.
is the best in the league right now, even though he didn't.
I agree with that. He keeps getting robbed. Like he's too good for his own good. That's why he keeps not winning. He has the best stats every year, which is arguably all you need to have to be the best goaltender of the year, but keeps getting robbed because they want to have a story behind it. I hate that, man.
Yeah, no, I've always thought that awards like that, the Conn Smythe, the MVP, even Hall of Fame, it should be a blind voting. You don't see a name, you see stats next to it.
The problem is that the guys that are voting know all the stats.
No, I get it, but maybe it I guess it would
those guys should not be allowed to watch hockey all year. We should have a bunch of people that don't watch hockey come in and say, this is what this is what this is, and then now vote for who is the best of this.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, obviously the guy that had the most wins and the most saves and the best save percentage is. It's like,
or how about
super
this?
Sorry, this guy has been in the league a long time and he's never won it.
Or how about this? Instead of doing something like that, instead of them looking at it and giving a vote to a player's stats, they say, okay, this year, this stat line is worth this points. And that way it gets delegated to who had the most wins, well, they get 5 points. Who had the best goals against, they get and then
if it was the same every year, then I'd be for sure. And then it's just
I'm just talking about getting improved, because at this point they're already changing what stat line's the most important. So I figure baby steps with the NHL.
Well, they change, but see, my problem is that they don't change the stat line to what's most important. They do it to what's most important for the guy that has the best story to win.
Yeah.
Like
this year, who had the most tweets with a sword going through their back? I don't know.
Well, that was last year. So he didn't have any this year. So he would have lost because, I was like, wanted to give it to Flower, but
they said guys in the last 5 years who has that
last year. Yeah. All right. We'll make it a 5-year. I just think that, but he is I would say best goalie in the league. And I mean, you go to a team like Vegas who has that, that experience to win in the playoffs. But you would argue they have some great players. Don't get me wrong, but they don't have any mega star power on their team.
Do you think that if Colorado had survived that upset, that they would have been a much better, and maybe they would be holding the cup right now? Or, I mean, obviously, and ifs or whats mean nothing.
No,
but
I mean, even if they went to the cup, even if they went to the finals, I think that Tampa was the complete team. They were the team to beat. I don't think that there was any, and we obviously were singing different tunes at the beginning of this.
Well, at the beginning of the playoffs, we weren't sure what Kucherov's situation was going to be. Yeah. And he played such a massive part in that run.
Yeah, he absolutely did. I think it would have just gone to the next guy up, though.
Yeah,
is the thing.
I think the difference would have been they would have won in 7 games maybe if Cooch wasn't there.
I think that Tampa would have had a much bigger opportunity losing in some of the earlier rounds than they did that cup without Kucherov. If they made it to the finals without Kucherov, I think it was a foregone conclusion.
Now, Braden Point is having surgery. Do you think he will sit out all regular season and come in the playoffs next season?
Maybe.
I do like that Cooch is wearing like a shirt during the celebration. He was wearing a shirt that said like 15 over the cap or something.
Yeah. And I think that they should, because people are so mad about it.
Be mad at your team for not doing it.
Again, it's not like he was smoking weed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If he's taking a puff of a joint,
he's
out.
Yeah, buddy. Get out of here. Get out of cup.
We follow rules here.
Yeah. I mean, Putin, happy man. He's just like, hell yeah. Bringing the cup back to Russia again, baby. What's up?
All right. So we just got back from a dope-ass trip in Baltimore, Maryland for your birthday. We were also celebrating your engagement.
30.
It was a great time. It was hot. My wife was sick for a lot of the trip, so she didn't have a great time, but she still enjoyed, hanging out with friends and having some good food. But it was a really good trip. We did a dope beerside chat at Ministry of Brewing.
Place was so sick.
That place was really cool.
So sick. I'm so glad we went. That was the second brewery we went to. I wish it was the only one. If we're being honest. No, all jokes aside, we did almost get kicked out of Guinness on the 4th of July. So America, baby.
Yeah.
We said Ireland, what is this bull? Okay. So to tell that story, for you guys at home, we always just Kong stuff places. I mean, we say it's for you guys,
what we
but
do.
It's, it's America, And so we were Konging, and we messed up the first Kong video. It was a dual effort, if we're being honest, but we just ordered more beers and Kong more. So we get the second Kong in, and I guess I'll go ahead and hit this shout out. Our boy, of whose name I did not know yet, Uncle Scott, hit me with a "Woo, America," and I'm gonna appreciate that. And so I got up and started talking to him and giving him Pucks Out stickers. And we're, I'm talking to him for quite some time. I'm engaging. I'm being friendly. We're talking about all sorts of stuff. And then Uncle Scott looks at me and he's like, "Hey, hang tight. Hang over here with us. I think you guys are getting kicked out." Which was like a super solid move. I think he was going to let me join his family. Like I was going to leave you guys and like, no, I'm going back to West Virginia with my boy Scott. And so I look back and it's a long picnic table, and it was so great. Cause like on one side of the picnic table, there's these 2 large men. They're semi-large. I mean, they weren't huge or anything, but they were, stout. And they're standing on the back side of the picnic table, and they have these red Guinness shirts on. And it was clear they were security. And then on the other side of the table, it was a guy in a black shirt, and he's kind of leaning in, talking to Bobby. Like Bobby and your wife, Megan, and Stephanie were just going to attack. They had to have the guys on the back. So, and
you'd be surprised how often that happens to me when I get kicked out of places. They come. Like at Dave & Buster's, when I got kicked out for doing nothing,
you fake stole something.
Yeah, I didn't. That's a story for another time. But they came loaded, and I guess they don't have security at Dave & Buster's, so he just brought 2 workers who clearly were not interested in this.
They're like a minimum wage. Like they're like
we don't want to do this.
They're like part-time 17-year-olds. They're like, you're gonna catch mega charges if you hit these minors. And so like I'm like over here, and I'm kind of like peering back, and I'm like thinking, okay, I'm a part of, Uncle Scott's family now. And so they didn't kick us out. They're walking by, and I look at the security guards, probably not my smartest move, but a Brandon move nonetheless. I look at
not
him,
the dumbest move of the week.
Not the dumbest. I look at him and I was like, "Hey, if you guys kick us out, can you make sure we get a chance to record it?"
Everything is content.
And they started laughing about it. The general manager did not think I was as funny as I thought I was, and Uncle Scott thought I was, and the security guards thought I was. So I came back over to you,
because you have the actual story. I just had the bird's eye view with my boy Scott.
I mean, you told it pretty well. We got done calling, and I'm, drinking my beer. You go over to talk to them, and he comes up, and they were out on the same side. They weren't flanking me. It was the manager, and then behind him were the security guards to my left.
Well, my way of telling it was way better, and it's the way I remember it. So I'm gonna pretend that you didn't have as good of an outside view as me.
And he just comes and is like, "Hey, I'm gonna need you guys to take those back to the car." And at that point, I've been a lot of times where where I'll say, "Oh, well, we Ubered here because we did," and I was expecting to say, "Ooh, well, you gotta leave then." I was like, "Can I just put mine in my fanny pack?" And he and his fiance.
It's like a koozie, dude. It's
and
not.
I wasn't gonna argue because that's not.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not. I wasn't.
We
in
were
that,
basically
we already
done.
got the video.
We were basically done with that place anyway.
Yeah.
Because it was a cult, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit.
He's like, "Yeah, sure, do that," but. Yeah, the problem is we're not allowed to promote drunkenness. We'll have our license taken away from us. I'm like, what?
First of all,
this is a Guinness brewery, bro.
this is no. Let's take the word Guinness out of it. This is a brewery.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if you're not allowed to promote drunkenness, then why don't you have waiters and waitresses checking people's drunkenness? We ordered like 8 beers on the app. That's how.
And
you
when they
order
came,
there.
you guys were not even at the table. It was just my wife and I. So they delivered like 8 beers to 2 people.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't they say something like, well, we have people bringing in beer pong tables in here. And stuff. Like my koozie that I drink through a plastic hose is clearly not the same thing as a large scale beer pong
and bringing
table.
a beer pong table in isn't a legitimate rule to have, not for not promoting drunkenness, but because you don't want
just like you
people
don't
bringing
want
tables
people
in.
bringing tables in and playing beer pong at your establishment. Like, don't be. I think they were just jaw flapping at that point. Like, and and nobody would have ever known because we'd already done one. But Uncle Scott did not see the first, and so he did not woo it. And then I didn't. He got me riled up. He was riled up. We were all riled up. It was America's Day. And I think that was the biggest problem it was America's birthday. And they didn't like that. They're like, this is Ireland, baby. Like you want some potatoes or something?
We weren't even technically in America. That's a cult compound. And they're a nation.
It did feel that way at a lot of points.
Yeah.
Like
it felt like Willy Wonka's factory, which also a cult.
Where people were like, we'd ask people questions and they'd answer them very respectfully. But it was like almost like their eyes were screaming, help me.
Yeah. The one guy was smiling the whole time in a weird way.
Yeah. And it was like kind of like everybody. Like it was like just like a whole lot of stuff. And, I'm joking with the guy when he's walking us to our outdoor table. And I was like, hey, man, will you take me to Dublin? Because they have a sign that points to Dublin. And he's like, oh, no. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm obviously leaving this in the review.
And I will say that the one waiter that came up and got an order and he's like, oh man,
he was jazzed about it.
He was jazzed. I never saw him again.
They told on us.
I don't think he told. I think they know that he got excited and it broke his trance and he's like, help me. And they killed him.
He's like, do you guys have a beer pong table or something? What the heck? I got to get out of here. No, but it was fun. And I was like, I'll tell you what I was the most surprised about at the Guinness brewery, how not absolutely ridiculously priced the gift shop was.
Oh, yeah.
If we're being honest.
Well, they get you on them teas.
Right. It was so funny because Megan had a tea. We ordered the tea. And
for $3.50.
$3.50, whatever.
Standard price.
Yeah, well, it's fine. A little pricey, but it's it's not a sweet tea. We're not here in Tennessee. It's just some tea. It's just like a bag, drug in a, thing. And so they had this text thing. It's like, hey, can I get you anything else? So I texted. I was like, yeah, can we get a refill on the tea? They're like, ooh,
no refills.
Like we don't do refills. Like, okay, well, we're going to order more beer. And I told Dave, we'll order you another tea. It's like it's not that big of a deal. We're going to spend way more than the $7 or potentially $10.50 if you want to have 3 teas. Well, and so they bring us the 3 beers. And she set my IPA down. And she's like, "You're an IPA fan?" And in my mind, I'm like, "All right, is this a are you trying to get out? Do I need to? Is this your code word?" But I was like, "Yeah, no, I love." And she's like, "Oh well, let me go get you some samples of our other IPAs to see if you like those."
but we're not talking like samples. Like they brought me they brought me 4 different beers, 3 like 5-ounce IPAs, and then like, and I brought some Farmhouse for everybody else.
Yeah.
Easily, and they gave you guys 5-ounce free beers, and like I was just like,
the tea.
The tea is like a no-go. Like they got guys stamping on tea bags like it's a wine, dude. Like,
maybe inside they promote drunkenness. Outside,
that's what we did not find out. We did not try to Kong inside.
Yeah. What's funny is this was like the first place we were like, maybe we should Kong at the end in case we get out, because we never
have said that ever. That is never
we've
once.
never once had to say that, and then you jinxed us by saying that.
Well, yeah, or did I jinx us? Because like the inside video would have not nearly been as cool as the outside video. So it was like way better, because I think that's what I said. I didn't say let's save it until we get. I think I said the kicked out thing, but it was mostly because like the outside that we were going to get the nice toucan in the background and stuff. So Guinness was super cool. Other than the culty feeling, I mean, Faley's crab cakes, the Orioles game was great. Bob and Jill, when I officially gave Stephanie her ring at Cat's Eye Pub, and we befriended Bob and Jill. And they were super awesome. They gave us a lot of good tips of places to go. Well, I mean, anything you got over there, bro?
You're talking about one in your snaps your stick. I mean, a lot of cool places. Was a big fan of Max. Max's Tap House?
Max's Tap House is pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
Dope Maryland apparel store we went to.
Oh we spent money. They gave us beers though.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
They also
got to sit in the car.
Yeah, they gave Megan a rum and Coke.
Yeah, we did not know that was an option. Yeah, though, if we're being fair, we did not know that the liquor was flowing as well. But those guys, I think it's EC Pops. Those guys are super cool. I just said the baseball game was super awesome. The Orioles won. I got to be an Orioles fan this time because they were playing the Blue Jays and not my Cleveland team. What else? What else was going on over there? The Wings at Kisling's.
Kilvesters.
You guys could never get it.
Kissinger's? I don't know.
I had it locked down for sure. But did a lot of walking. Stephanie's feet blew up like balloons for some reason. I mean, I learned about Botinis, for goodness sake.
Oh, yeah.
It's just Natty Bo in a glass. I think anywhere can do it that has Old Bay. And it was Maryland, so anywhere could have done it. And they just did the rim on in Old Bay.
I'm thinking that for my mom's, crab cookout for her birthday, maybe we get I think if we can get like a couple cases or a keg of Natty Bo and a bunch of Old Bay.
Oh, I'll do Botinis. I'm interested in that. Seriously. That sounds real good. Yeah. And then, our last night, you guys had gone back to the Airbnb, but Stephanie and I, actually 2 things. I'm so sorry. Stephanie and I were about to leave Cat's Eye and go to another bar the night before we left. We got to get up early. And the band that was playing, we're tabbing out. We're tabbed out. We're finishing our drinks. And they roll into playing Juicy by Biggie, which was amazing. And then to top it off, they rolled into Forget About Dre by Dre and Eminem, and then went to remix Ignition, the Ignition remix by R. Kelly. Super sick. And that was pretty amazing. Matt Kelly, shout out to him, because that was he was super dope. And then also I do have to mention our boy Casey with the mullet. That was in literally the last 3 nights, the last bar we went to every night. He was the bartender in like every one. It was super creepy and yet oddly satisfying. So super dope trip. I have 1,000 more stories, but we should probably move on.
We'll be covering
talking about.
Let's move on to joke of the week.
The weird. Corey Perry. I don't like that. Wild. I think the first read was a good one. Now I'm overthinking it. Outlandish.
Each 6th chick sat on a stick. Little tongue twister.
And downright dumb.
You're kidding me.
It's time for the joke of the week.
Didn't know this could be a thing. Apparently too many people in New Zealand have jobs. Their unemployment just hit 4.5%, and it's decreasing. And
it's called natural unemployment. It's normally around 5%. I'm sorry.
The Reserve Bank is deciding whether or not the economy has hit maximum sustainable employment because many experts say that it could hit up to about 3%, maybe 2.8%. But they're saying that because of this, unemployment is present at 4.5, but the Employers and Manufacturers Association argues it needs to be closer to 5% to make it easier to recruit, retain staff, and constrain wage inflation, which I think is that last one's the most important thing to them.
Yeah,
now obviously this is something that you work in this kind of industry.
Well,
so.
not even my work. This is just a natural business principle. A 5% is like a normal level. So like unemployment just means that you're not currently employed, but it's people moving from one job to the other, and people getting into new industries and stuff.
I don't think this is anything they have to artificially do to get it back up to 5%. Like that's how
it's supposed to be natural.
Yeah, we just got done with COVID, so it'll probably even itself back out.
Well, that's what'll start to happen when it gets lower, though, is inflation starts to hit.
Yeah.
And so it's other economic factors that are involved with capitalism that just naturally happen. And so that's where the issue lies. I'm sure there's some funny quotes in here, though, where like this one right here, those historical markers aren't that good of a guide. I think 4% is on the too low side, he says. I think we're probably better at 4 to 5%, which is inclusive of 4%. Yeah. Am I correct? Like, yeah, this is, it's more of a, now what it leads to is underemployment is your bigger problem within the issue. You've really hit my wheelhouse here. And so now I don't have any jokes. I'm just like, no, I hear you're trying to make jokes, but this is serious, Bobby. This is the economy.
I think it's more about just the fact that when so many people are still reeling from COVID and they can't find jobs, for them to come in and say, ooh, too many people have jobs now.
Well, it's New Zealand, right? So like they've been doing pretty fine. Like they've been COVID free since 2003, right? Like they have been doing, and I'm talking about March of last year. No, it is good for job seekers for a time, but then it becomes hard to switch industries and stuff because there's no fluid motion because people are just in the same.
And I think what's a lot of people, like when I was reading it, on Reddit and on Twitter, people saying, okay, so are they gonna like they post this? They don't really say that what they're gonna do about it. They're just saying, yep, here it is. Like, okay, like.
Because
are they planning on doing? Are they going to require people to fire people? Like they don't really say what they're going to do. It's more just like, yep. Like that's like saying, hey, you want to hear about hurricanes? But they're not saying if there's a hurricane coming or what to do if you get a hurricane or how they're going to stop hurricanes.
Hurricanes are bad.
Here's the thing about hurricanes.
It looks like I'm trying to look at this little chart. It's a very interesting way to have you seen the chart down here?
Which charts?
The circular under the grittiest argument of all. It's very
when I saw the words grittiest when I saw the grittiest argument, I'm like, oh, this might be good. And I'm like,
it's not gritty at all. The thing is, New Zealand is just a pretty chill country, and so like
their gritty is like
their gritty is like. This is, we don't have gritty, guys. I don't know.
Like, hey, super gritty. The Prime Minister tripped and fell this morning.
That was gritty, buddy. Come on. Clean up the journalism, New Zealand.
And then it's like, we look at their thing and it's like, he just bumped his leg. He didn't even trip and fall. It's like, oh.
Oh, and then in the Northland, parts of the Bay of Plenty, Gisborne and Napier, where unemployment is still above 5%. And this dude's like, to be fair, there's not a lot of employment up in those areas anyway. But we've got long-term unemployed. That means they've got to move somewhere else and get a job. Like, go get a job in the south side of the country. Walk the 46 feet to the other side of New Zealand.
I can't help but feel like this is...
Frodo did it!
I can't help but feel like what happened was that this, whatever it's called, the newsroom, said, all right, guys, everyone has to start working back in the office. And the financial guy is at a desk. He's like, I actually have to write something. He's like, I don't know, let's go to Wikipedia and look at what employment should be at. Yeah. And he's just writing like a couple pages of how unemployment works.
I think this would have been much better if like when he's like, that means they got to move somewhere else to get a hard job. He's like, Frodo.
went across Middle Earth, which is New Zealand, and he made it to Mordor. So,
Yeah.
and then he was set for life. He didn't even have the king bow to him. Okay.
But
Tough for employers, good for job seekers, which, most of the time, corporations and employment don't listen to us, but people do. So, yeah, we're pro being good for job seekers on this. Unless you are a corporation, in which case.
And you want to sponsor us.
Hit us outside. That sounds like I'm trying to fight. And it depends on who.
Yeah.
I'll fight Mark Zuckerberg. No problem. But there's some other guys I probably wouldn't fight.
Like Richard Branson. Is that his name? Richard Branson, the dude who just went to space?
Yeah. I'd probably fight him.
Yeah.
He's getting old, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's probably been injected with youth.
Yo, yeah. He definitely looks like someone who I'd want to fight for the story, but I don't know.
I'd pretend like I wanted a picture and then I would cup check him. He probably has never once been cup checked in his life.
You do it and you just hear the ding of metal. It's like, oh.
Be like, first of all, sir, I've never said this to anyone, but I'm trying to check out what you're packing.
Rich Branson actually died 10 years ago. Now it's the Terminator.
It's just.
All right. Let's move on to what's snapping your stick.
Bobby and Brandon are about to find out exactly what snaps their sticks.
All right. Want to lead this off by saying definitely dope place, Airbnb we had, great location. But if you run an Airbnb or one of those other places like that, if it's in the middle of July and your AC system is not great, whether it's because of the type of house or just naturally you can't
everywhere, and it's a house built in 1920, man.
I get that, but
yeah, but it seems like you don't get it.
No, I get the reasons. I'm not blaming her for not having a good enough AC system, but let people know, because I would have brought a second fan, or I would have brought another fan.
You had 2 fans in your room,
yeah,
bro.
plus the one I brought. I had
you
3.
Had 3 fans in your room, bro. It doesn't seem like many more fans were going to do much.
I still could have prepared in some way.
You wouldn't. How would you have prepared?
I would have figured something out.
It's literally, we talked to your friend from Baltimore that said that this is it's a row house thing. Yeah. It's a thing. Like, it's not anything that you could have fixed or helped.
More fans.
I didn't have it was warm sometime, but I didn't have. See,
here's the problem
experience.
with me is like when we
you decided to have the room that had the nook on it, so that was harder to cool.
To be fair, I actually had no idea there was a nook there until I'm like, oh, that's cool. But I also found out that it was weird that the window was open up there when we got there, and that the AC was on.
Honestly, we closed the window. It probably would have cooled it off more at night, if you were being honest, because it would have got airflow.
But also, I think it was the last night I went up there, and they had a vent up there, just going the AC blowing up in the nook isn't really helping. So I ended up closing that vent. Actually, the last night was comfortable because I actually closed the downstairs vent. So when you
closed the vents and altered where the AC was coming from, it helped?
Yes.
So basically, what you're saying is you're snapping your stick means that you're mad at yourself for not closing vents.
Done that for us. Or
she was not there. She's a traveling dancer.
Having the cleaning people do it.
Yeah, I don't think that you pay extra money to make sure that you close specific vents. So the guy that gets too hot with 2 and the 3rd fan that they were not aware of, that you don't change. You don't tell them, hey, make sure you close the vents and figure out how to make sure he's comfortable in the room.
Well, they should have.
Okay, so mine is something that we promised our boy Bob that we would have, not this Bob, but the other Bob, Jill's Bob. Maybe. He hasn't been murdered by this snaps my stick. We get to talking to these people, and we're talking to her, and she casually brings up, or maybe it was, maybe it wasn't casual, says, oh, well, I have 9 cats. And you can tell Bob is in the background and he's rolling his eyes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he expected this from us.
Yeah.
Because we both hit her with, Jill,
way too many cats.
What are you doing? That's way too many cats.
Like, are you kidding
By like
me?
a lot too many.
But like 9. But like even but
Eight
by
too
at
many.
least 8. Okay, like you want to have the one cat, whatever. It's not for me, but like
it's
I
10 too
get
many.
you.
Everyone should try and take a cat out of the world.
Exactly. Like cats are one of those things that like I don't hate cats, but if I woke up one morning and there were no more domestic cats in the world, my life wouldn't change. And so we're like, Joe, that's too many cats. And Bob is like, thank you. Like, thank goodness. He was like,
The best was find out 9 was actually a lie.
that was the best part. That was the best part of the story for her, because she was like, and it comes out as we're like railing her for the 9. She was like, well, it's actually 12. We're like, what? It's
Unacceptable.
It's like, are you kidding me?
I was like, Jill, I'm so disappointed in you.
Jill, are you joking? She's like, well, they're so cute. It's like, yeah. I was like, if you died in your home, they would eat you, Jill.
And then she's like, well, I just rescued them. I'm going to get rid of them. Like, how long have you had them? Like, she's like, 3 years.
It's
That's
like,
that's not rescued to try and move. Those are your cats.
Bob was like, when we first started dating, I thought that she was cheating on me, but it turns out she just didn't want me to come over to her home because she had 12 cats. And honestly, the cheating thing was preferable.
Yeah.
It would have been much better to find out that she was cheating on me than the 12 cats. I was like, how many rooms do they take over, Jill? She's like,
Well,
just one. Well, 1.5.
and
like
then
it
Bob,
kept going up.
kind of nudging. He's like, oh, she's like, okay, yeah, like 3 rooms.
Like 3, like, like they have their own room, but then every other room has cat stuff in it. Like, dude, that's a battle royale. When you walk in, like, how do you even feed 12 cats? Like,
you just bring a dead body and just throw it on the floor.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, Jill, if you had one dog and you died, that dog would find a way out of the home, go find somebody, bring someone to your aid. If you die with those cats, they're never going to tell anyone. Yeah. They're going to eat you. Jill, too many cats. Bob, if you're listening like you said you would, bro, we got your back, man. Make sure you show this to Jill. You got too many cats, Jill. But great recommendations on restaurants.
Cats
you
are
guys
too
killed
damn
it.
high.
They're too damn much. Your cats, they're like lumber, okay?
All right, you got a sports one this week or not?
Not necessarily sports, but just that guy that berated the bartender for not accepting cash at the Orioles game.
Oh,
with his kid.
That
and he
guy.
was like, it was like one of those guys that think he's being like really cool and thinks that everybody's gonna like come to his aid. Like,
then he threw something at his kid.
He's like, yeah, just throw stuff at him sometime. Like, what? Like, what? That was already the weird part for me. But then he like berates this bartender because they don't accept cash. He's like, wow, you would have got a really good tip if you accepted cash. And he's like, oh, and the guy was like super nice about it too. He's like, I'm super sorry to hear that. Like, like
as
it's
you
all
expect,
good.
that really good tip was 15%. He's like, you almost had yourself like a 15% tip.
Oh,
it's like not anymore, Buster.
It most certainly was not 15%. It was going to be good for him, and it was going to be whatever loose change happened to come back across his way after purchasing the beers. And he's like, oh, no change? Sorry that all of your prices are even dollar. Yeah, he was just a mega jerk. And so, as Bobby and I do, we just kind of smack talked him right there at the bar. We're like,
and our seats, which he was like 3 rows in front of us.
Yeah, we just really, and shout out to my boy Nick that sat in front of us. He was a really good sport because I gave him the business.
But all right, everyone, we will not see you next week, but we'll see you back here in 2 weeks.
We kind of will see him because we're going to give him Ministry of Brewing.
You'll get a Ministry
with
of Brewing
boy
episode.
Nick, dude.
Chris.
He's
our boy Chris.
my boy Nick. I was thinking about Nick because I was just talking about it. Chris, dude.
Yeah.
Killer.
But all right, everyone, we will see you later.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Pucks Out Podcast. To see what other ridiculousness the guys are up to, check them out on Twitter and Instagram @PucksOutPod.